Welcome in, college baseball fans, coming at you live with the second episode in our Texas series deep dive. Got the Texas Tech Red Raiders here. Got Marshall here. Got Jackson here. Feels like the gang's back together, boys.
I know, glad to be back.
Yep. Facts.
Let's go ahead and jump into it. Texas Tech went 41-23 last year, 12-12 in the Big 12. Started out 10-0 before they rolled into Houston in the College Classic. Lost to Rice in a 2-1 game. That included 4 wins over Gonzaga and Air Force. They also had series wins over tournament teams Sam Houston, Iowa, Oklahoma State, and TCU. Played into the Final Four of the Big 12 tournament game. Was the Gainesville runner-up. They were sitting 2-0 pretty on the other side. Then Florida beat them twice. So where do you think Texas Tech goes from here? Because we kind of closed the book on 2023 for them. The season almost feels like a C+. They had a ton of talent. They really kind of started off strong, and then they really just kind of disappeared into Big 12 play. Jackson, Marshall, what are y'all kind of thinking on that?
I mean, they were really close towards the end of the year. Like as you said, we started 2-0 in the Gainesville regional, so they had it. They were right there. They had it. Like they were in control of the regional, and then they just fell apart. Not much you can do about it. But
Yeah, they're definitely going to come back super hungry this year. I mean, getting double dipped in the regional, that's never fun. That's really kind of lighting a fire for the next year, especially when that team that double dips you is the team that almost wins the College World Series too. So
Yeah, and they got double dipped too, I believe.
yeah, after run ruling LSU.
Key departures. The final Coleman is out of college baseball as Ty Coleman's finishing up his career. That's another name that I think college baseball is really going to miss. Then kind of the names that you don't expect. Mason Molina and Hudson White both go to Arkansas. Hudson White obviously batted 4-hole in that final game. Mason Molina was the frontline starter. Also lose Nolan Hester, who batted leadoff, and then Zach Vulchik out and right. I mean, they lose and then a ton of bullpen arms, which was really kind of the strength of Texas Tech last year. Those are some big shoes to fulfill. Mason Molina, I feel like every pitcher that they run out is going to be compared to them. Hudson White, I know we'll kind of get into it, doesn't feel like as big of a loss as it might have could have been. But again, Nolan Hester and Zach Vulchik, 2 cornerstones of the program, I think are out for Texas Tech. Where do you think Texas Tech goes from here as they kind of, missed a lot of these key bullpen guys?
I mean, behind the plate, Hudson White's a big loss, but I mean, you're moving Kevin Bizzell down from third. And so that kind of replaces his shoes. You're still losing Hudson White, but I mean, you're still replacing that with a big bat with Bizzell coming in his second year starting after hitting 348 with 10 pump jacks last year.
yeah, I agree. And then another big loss, in my opinion, is Brendan Beckel out of the pen. He was absolutely shut down pretty much all year. So I mean, figuring out like the new bullpen roles and how they're going to fill up that is really big, in my opinion.
Let's go ahead and move on to the lineups. This is Coach Tim Tadlock's 12th season. He's been to the College World Series 3 times, 2-time Big 12 champion. But, the last few years they've been out in that regional early. Starting off behind the plate, Kevin Bizzell, I think that the word out of camp is that he's going to be the starting catcher. And you almost kind of feel like maybe he pushed out Hudson White. Redshirt sophomore, started 63 games at third base, hit 348, 24 doubles, 10 home runs, 62 RBIs. I mean, that's a very big bat that's going to be in the big of the order. Jackson, what are you kind of seeing from Kevin Bizzell?
I mean, he has a cannon, so obviously that's going to play easily. And then the bat's always going to – I feel like the bat's going to stick, like no matter where you – so hopefully he can fill the shoes defensively of Hudson White, but I mean, you know what you have in the bat, so you're just hoping like behind the plate he kind of just figures it out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's almost crazy to think about that he might be a defensive first catcher as he hit 348 last year. I feel like his arm strength behind the plate is going to be a tremendous upgrade for the Red Raiders. Marshall, talk about his bat a little bit. What do you like about Kevin Bizzell's approach?
Yeah, I mean, Bizzell, the numbers kind of speak for themselves. Coming off of his redshirt year last year as a freshman, I mean, just jumping in, especially with guys like Gavin Cash and Hudson White, can be intimidating, especially as a first year guy. I guess second year, but first year actually playing. But it's really impressive. And so coming into second year starting, especially like filling Hudson White's roles, I'm kind of really looking forward to kind of what he does this year in the Big 12.
We've seen it at a few other stops along college baseball that when these guys move behind the plate, their average, it really is kind of 50-50 that it takes a dump. Jackson, do you think Kevin's batting average falls this year? Or do you think he kind of has the strength being a natural catcher to kind of hit around that 350 mark like he did last year?
I think he'll be okay because like obviously last year like it was pretty known like within Tech and obviously like a little bit outside like that he was going to be the catcher assuming Hudson White was going to leave. And like you said, I feel like he probably pushed Hudson White out the door maybe a little bit, but I think he'll be all right. I think he'll be fine.
We'll go ahead and move on to probably their best bat in their lineup. Gavin Cash Jr. out of Beaumont, Texas, started 64 games for the Red Raiders, hit 327, 12 doubles, 36 home runs, and 84 RBIs as he transferred in from Texas. First team All Big 12, unanimous. I mean, his average peaked at about 400. I think he is one of the better bats in the Big 12, and I know that he was always going to be compared to Ivan Melendez as he was the guy that they recruited after him, and I feel like he's kind of lived up to the billing. I mean, Jackson, you probably watched Gavin Cash more than anybody here. What do you like about his approach at the plate?
The approach is solid. The swing is like freaking effortless. Like it looks like he just barely does any work, and the ball flies. Obviously, in Lubbock, the ball's gonna fly anywhere. But like the swing is phenomenal. Everything just plays. It's insane.
It's an insanely violent swing for as fluid as his motion is. He started down in that seventh or eighth order, and he really kind of worked himself into the middle of this order. And I think that he's probably going to be the guy that you pencil in that 3 or 4 spot. But his defense is kind of underrated. It really kind of came on later in the year. Marshall, what have you kind of seen from Gavin Cash as he plays first base?
Yeah, I just remember in the regional against Florida. I can't remember if it was the first or second game against Florida, but there's a hot shot down the line, and it was a big moment in the game, and he kind of laid out for it, and it was a big turning point in the game. Kind of kept him in. I believe it was game one. It kind of kept him in competition, and I mean, it just kind of speaks for itself. When I mean, he's the only guy on the team that started every game last year. Also, what was it, 64? So that's like really impressive. I mean, obviously 327 with 26 bombs. I mean, he's going to be that, cleanup hitter, first team All Big 12 last year. I mean, he's going to be the guy to kind of lead this team.
I mean, it's almost kind of crazy to think about when you compare him to Jared Thomas, that he almost feels better than Jared Thomas and that Tech got the better end of those two deals. But let's go ahead and move to that other corner spot. Project Cade McGee, the Gonzaga transfer, to start at third. Started 20 games for them last year. 2022 Freshman of the Year out of the West Coast Conference. Hit 293, but pre-injury was hitting 412. And I think he's going to be a tremendous bat for the Red Raiders as he kind of makes that jump. I mean, I think he was a big reason, too, why Gonzaga kind of fell off there. I think Cade McGee is a huge, huge get for the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Jackson, what are you seeing from him?
Yeah, I agree. I think like the key to him is just staying healthy. He's never had like a full healthy season, and I believe like especially in Lubbock, he's gonna be great in Lubbock because the ball flies. So like that's gonna play to his advantage big time. And again, it's just staying healthy for him. That's all it is.
Yeah, his swing almost seems tailor-made to Dan Law Field. As if you kind of get it up, that West Texas win, we'll get into it. Marshall, how do you think his defense is going to translate as, maybe the ball gets on you a little bit quicker in the Big 12 as opposed to the West Coast Conference?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the ball jumps in Lubbock too, and so I mean, I think he'll be fine. I mean, third base. I feel like that's kind of, I mean, not universal, but like it doesn't really matter. I mean, switching conferences, transferring. I mean, playing third is playing third. So I think he'll be all right.
Moving up the middle, this one, I mean, it almost feels like it's going to be these two guys rotating between short and second. Second base, we got Tracer Lopez and Will Burns being the shortstop. Will Burns obviously has a little bit of the stronger arm. Started every game of the regional last year. Actually, the quarterback on the football team, I don't think he's on the football team anymore. So this will be his first season of being strictly baseball as he kind of works into that. His average is really something that you kind of look at and question. You're like, hey, why was this guy getting starts over Tracer Lopez? But again, the arm strength that he kind of showcased in that Florida regional, I think he's going to be the shortstop. And then Tracer Lopez is going to be the second baseman just because Tracer Lopez's bat is going to be so key there. But Jackson, who do you think is going to play a bigger factor for Texas Tech, Tracer Lopez or Will Burns?
I think Tracer, just because like the bat to ball skills with Tracer are like elite, and then like his defense is insane as well. But Will Burns, he was on the football team, and then he was on their lifting and nutrition program. So he's gotten way bigger. So like that could be a massive key. Like maybe the power will come through a little bit. So it's just all about him getting consistent playing time, and hopefully you see it.
Yeah, another guy that's kind of jump in there is TJ Pompey. I mean, he's a freshman coming in. He's a seventh overall player in Texas, 6'4", shortstop. He's also seventh overall player in Texas, and the number one shortstop in Texas. So I think he's going to give Burns a run for his money at shortstop, I believe. And I think Lopez will kind of move over to the primary second base.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Tadlock raved about the bat to ball skills of TJ Pompey, and I think he is going to force him into the lineup. Is again, if we see that average from Will Burns kind of do what it did last year, Texas Tech has the luxury, I think, to go to a bat like TJ Pompey. I think he's going to be in the order a ton this year, whether it starts at an infield spot or even DHing for it. I think he's probably the best recruit that Texas Tech's had in a really, really long time, and that's saying a lot for the talent that Texas Tech has been able to bring in over the years. I think TJ Pompey is one of those names that we have circled that's not starting, but again, I think he'll be a very, very key piece.
Yeah, I saw a video probably a month and a half ago. It was in one of the fall ball games, and he hit a bomb, and it was a bomb. Like the swing was perfect. It was insane.
Moving on to the outfield, I mean, this one we have a little bit of an unknown. Have Drew Wilcox being the left fielder, senior, righty hit 271 for him last year. Gage Harrelson feels like the center fielder again. Started 57 games for him, hit over 324. And then Owen Washburn and Austin Green, I think we do project Owen Washburn to be the starter out and right just because I think his defense is a little bit better. But then Austin Green making that transition from second base to the outfield. He's probably going to be a name that you see a ton in the outfield. I think this is a kind of an underrated group. I know a lot of the middle infielders and Gavish Cast are going to steal a lot of these headlines. But I mean, Gage Harrelson's kind of your stereotypical center fielder, kind of a slapper type hit, run first kind of guy. Jackson, who kind of excites you about this Texas Tech lineup in the outfield?
Right now it's probably Harrelson, just because the bat's crazy, the speed's there. He's going to swipe as many bags as he can, and then Washburn hopefully has a full healthy season this year. He dislocated his elbow, and then I think he hurt his knee as well last year. I can't remember. So he played and he never really got going, and then he got hurt and he was shut down for the season. So I'm hoping he stays healthy this year so we can, because freshman year he was insane, and then I'm hoping we can get a full season of him this year too.
Marshall, with Owen Washburn and Austin Green, those are two guys that I think in the fall, both of them did a tremendous job to not kind of separate one from each other just because they were both having tremendous at-bats. What do you kind of see from them? Do you think they go with Austin Green, who played seconds making that transition, or more Owen Washburn, who played there a ton last year?
I think that Owen Washburn has a lot to show this year. I mean, last two seasons combined, he's hit 272 with 10 bombs. But obviously last year cut short due to injury. So I think that he's going to start in right, and then Austin Green is going to. He played primarily second last year. I think they're going to kind of convert him into that DH role, kind of taking over. Like what Ty Coleman used to be, just kind of like that steady bat in the line in the middle of the order. So yeah, I think that's what Austin Green's kind of transition to.
I also think
we
Maxey,
didn't talk. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Jackson.
Oh, I was gonna say I think Maxey could probably see some time at DH as well because he has some serious juice.
Yeah.
Names that we didn't mention: Dylan Maxey behind the plate started a ton of games from last year as he kind of split. I think that he's probably not going to get a ton of starts, maybe a change of pace kind of guy as Kevin Bizzell kind of takes over that role. And then Garrett Bohm last year didn't play a ton, but is a truly kind of physical, imposing person. 6'3", 220. I think he's kind of another name as he transitions that you really kind of have to watch out for as another guy that, maybe not this year, but I think down the road that him and the class of him and TJ Pompey are truly the future of Texas Tech.
Yeah, I agree. He was another pretty highly ranked recruit.
And then also Drew Woodcox. I mean, he's coming into his senior year. He's going to be that veteran leader in the outfield. I could see him having actually a good year.
Yep. I know in years past, we've said that the strength of Texas Tech has been in their pitching staff. I think it's reversed this year. I think that the strength really is going to be in this lineup and that they have a chance to kind of be like those Texas Tech teams that went to the College World Series where they're hitting balls all around the yard. But moving on to the pitching staff, it really is kind of a take-your-pick kind of guy. There's a ton of guys in here that are D1 level talents, but really kind of all blend together, if I'm being honest with you. Friday night, we're projecting Kyle Robinson. Saturday, we're going with Zane Petty. And then Jack Washburn is the Sunday guy with Trenton Parrish and Mac Heyer, two other names that I think are going to be in the mix for that Tuesday, Sunday role. Jackson, we'll start with you. What do you think about this Texas Tech staff from a starting pitching standpoint?
Kyle Robinson, I think he's going to be elite this year. He was extremely good down the stretch last year. He slowly got as he got more starts, he slowly got better. And then Tabor Fast, the key with him is just throwing strikes. Like last year, he had like a decent amount of walks. I think I remember that. And then like he just has to throw strikes. And then Mac Hewer, I believe he's from Georgia, and everything I saw with him is he's a big kid who throws really hard. So,
Marshall, what are you seeing from the staff?
Yeah, I think this is coming in just like kind of projecting. I think it's going to be their weakest link of their team. There's a lot of question marks, especially losing big names like Mason Molina and Brandon Beckel. And so losing Molina to Arkansas and then Beckel to the draft. I do think Kyle Robinson, big body, 6'6", had a decent year last year. I think he's going to come in and kind of dominate as that Friday night guy. But then you also don't know regarding starting pitching with Tadlock. I mean, I just feel like over the years he hasn't stuck with the same guys in his starting rotation consistently throughout the entire season. So I think the starting rotation, those Friday, Saturday, Sunday guys, I think it's going to kind of change and transition a little bit.
Yeah, and when you look up and down the staff, that's the thing that you kind of notice at the stats at the end of the year is they had a bunch of guys that started a ton of games for them. Jack Washburn's, I think, another name that you need to watch out for. The Ole Miss transfer who was truly, truly up and down in every sense of the word. There were some times where he looked out and went dominated, and then other times he just kind of disappeared, and you look up and he's walked 5 guys in 3 innings. But I think that this is going to be one of the strengths is who kind of separates themselves out of the pack, because we've seen in the past that Texas Tech's been able to run out a ton of arms. Mm-hmm. Let's go ahead and move on to that bullpen. 4 names to really kind of watch out for, but again, we can pick any one of these. Josh Sanders, I think, is expected to be one of the first names out. Derek Bridges, Ryan Free, and Brendan Lasik, I think, are the other 4 names to watch out of that bullpen. What are you kind of seeing from this bullpen, Jackson?
I think Derek Bridges is going to be one of the key pieces, especially as a senior. You just hope he has some leadership, and then he was really good down the stretch as well, I remember. And then another name I was looking at is Damian Bravo. I don't know how much he's going to pitch this year, but last year he was a 2-way. He got some starts in the outfield, and he also pitched. So I don't really know how Tadlock's going to use him for the rest of the season as well this year.
Another kind of exciting guy, an exciting guy to look out for. I have no clue because I don't really. He comes from ACU. Didn't follow ACU a whole lot last year, but transfer Max Huffling, lefty, 6'9", 250 pounds. And so that's just a huge body that is going to come out of the pen for Tech. And so that's kind of something to look out for. But also I think Ryan Free, I think he's going to kind of transition into that top of the line bullpen guy. 46 innings pitched last year, 4.11 ERA. I think he's going to, he's coming into his senior year as well. So he's a veteran guy, experience. So that's something to look forward to.
I think that there's a lot to like from this Texas Tech bullpen. They have a lot of guys, a lot of variety of different arms. A few guys that throw hard, that'll strike you out. They have a ton of contact pitchers. I think that this is going to be an underrated aspect of this Texas Tech staff. But moving on to prediction time, Marshall, Jackson, this is our second team. So what's our 1-2 ranking between Texas Tech and TCU? Jackson, I'll start with you.
I don't know. I think I'm going to put TCU above Tech just because, obviously they went to Omaha last year. You have to take that into account. And then they lost Braden Taylor and, some other guys, but they also reloaded really well. So I think I'm going to put them to start, but that definitely could fluctuate for sure.
Marshall, what are you kind of seeing between those 2 teams?
Yeah, I gotta go the same. I think that TCU's got them. I mean, they're coming off super hot season. Obviously finishing the College World Series, making an appearance there. So I got to go TCU there.
And I'll complete the trifecta. I think TCU as well. While there's a lot to like about this Texas Tech team, my initial thoughts was to just say TCU off the bat. But as I kind of dove deep into them, I mean, there's a lot to like about this Texas Tech team, and there's a ton of things that are real close. Jackson, what's your floor, ceiling, and then true prediction for Texas Tech?
Ceiling is an Omaha run. Floor, I feel like they're definitely a tournament team. I don't see why they couldn't host a super regional if they get hot at the right time. So that's what I think.
And then your prediction, what's the one that you think actually happens?
My prediction, I think I know them. I bet they make the tournament. I don't know if they'll host a super regional, but I bet they'll be in a regional.
Marshall, floor, ceiling, and prediction.
Ceiling, I'd say super regional appearance. I think that there's too many question marks on the pitching side. And also they have a very, very tough non-conference schedule as well. So that may take the wind out of their sails. I mean, I'm looking here. I mean, they take in the middle of conference, they play Stanford, Arkansas, and Arizona State, as well as pre-conference, they play Tennessee, Oregon, and Oregon State. And so, I mean, really tough conference or really tough schedule. Also, a solid conference in the Big 12. I'd say the floor is, I think they'll make a regional, but between the floor and the ceiling, I'd say probably a regional appearance, probably run out of steam there.
Yeah,
I think
my
the
floor,
first-
I think is. Oh, go ahead, Jackson.
I think the first tournament at Globe Life that they play in is going to be like really telling of kind of how it goes, because there's some solid competition there as well.
I mean, we have seen in the past, though, that really doesn't matter with a lot of these Big 12 teams. I know Texas went 0-3 and made Omaha.
Yeah.
Texas Tech went 0-3 and had a really good season. But, yeah, I mean, I think that is a good barometer test to see kind of where Texas Tech is. My floor for this team is I think that they might have to miss the tournament. The Big 12's a little bit deeper than it's been in years past. That, they don't really have those gimme games against West Virginia and Kansas State that they had 2, 3, 4 years ago. And in a nightmare scenario, I think that Texas Tech does have the talent or lack of talent to miss the tournament. My ceiling for them is, I think, a regional final. I think that that's kind of the peak that I see them at, is kind of what they've done the last few years, where they're very underrated. They get into a tournament and then kind of go on a little bit of a run. But, the shoe doesn't fit for Cinderella at the end. I think that that's kind of where I see this team, though, is, they're going to be in somebody's regional. They're going to be a great win for somebody, I think, on their way to Omaha. Unfortunately for Texas Tech, I don't think they make it back to Omaha. I don't think they make it into the second weekend. But again, I think that they're going to give somebody really, really big fits in a regional.
Yeah, I agree. I think Tadlow's gonna continue his streak of regional appearances.
Yeah, I don't see that breaking anytime soon. Jackson, Marshall, as we kind of close this one out, any final thoughts that you have on Texas Tech?
Now that there's a lot of holes to fill, but always have faith in Tadlock. So
biggest telltale
Marshall?
sign will be this starting pitching staff. If the starting pitching staff, a lot of new guys jumping in there. If they show up and step up this year, I think Tech can actually go a long way.
I'm excited to see another season of Gavin Cash. He truly is one of my favorite players to watch in college baseball. I believe that's all we have the time for. For those of us that are live, we're going to be doing an 8 p.m. breakdown of our top 25, so be tuned into that. Next week, we're rolling with the Texas Longhorns. That's another thing to watch out for. And again, this has been Jake McKeever, Marshall Ingram, and Jackson Wall with College Baseball Central Texas. See everybody later.
See you guys.